Everybody, what is going on? It's your boy Crypto Bobby. Hope you are having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching or listening in from. And welcome to another episode, another edition here of Crypto Coffee Hour. And good to be back. Good to be back streaming on the channel. Was out, like I said, last time I streamed, was in Canada for a week, which was awesome. Absolutely love that. Banff was super awesome. Canadians are the nicest people on planet Earth. So happy to be back. Happy to be hanging out here with you guys and getting in a little bit of conversation this morning about what's happening in the crypto markets in general, what's happening with some of the big topics that occurred since I left. What's going on? Daniel, what's up? Sherry, what's up? Chris, Nadine, hope you guys are having a good one so far. What's up, Tone? What's up, B. Weber? Hope you guys are having a good one and should be live right now on YouTube, on Twitch, on Periscope as well. So on those three places. So shout out to anybody who's watching from there. And yeah, as you may have noticed, the beard came off after I got back from Canada. So bear market is officially over. It's officially done. Ignore all your technical analysis. Ignore the cold hard facts. Ignore everything that seemingly matters. I shaved my beard, so you should probably be buying all the cryptocurrency on planet Earth. So yeah, that's my strong market advice for you is that's my strong market advice for the day is that yes, I shaved my beard, so the bear market is over, and you should be good to go. And yeah, I leave. I deleted Twitter for the week because I figured, hey, I should probably relax a little bit and not be amped up on Twitter dopamine talking about crypto while I'm relaxing and skiing. And yeah, I leave for one freaking week, and Coinbase obviously saw I wasn't tweeting, saw I was off the grid, and said, hey, we're gonna add XRP because we know there's going to be too many memes. We know this can't happen while Bobby's in town. So I leave for 1 week, and you guys stop defending the wall, and you let XRP get added to Coinbase, and there go half my jokes on Twitter. I'm pretty angry, so that's that. And taking a look at all the comments here, obviously, and yeah, obviously looking and jokes aside about the beard, I don't necessarily think the bear market's over. I tweeted that with a picture of my dumb face, or the bottom of my dumb face, and there were a bunch of people like, the bear market's obviously not over, dude. It's like, yes, I know, I'm shitposting. I understand. But to go to show some of the funniness too, so I thought this was actually pretty hilarious. I'll see if it's still up there. They changed it, so here we go. So shout out to CoinDesk, who does some great articles and then some funny ones, but I know they dabble in technical analysis now, or they try to dabble a little bit in technical analysis, and they posted this article, and then they posted this article. So they posted, what do we got here? So Bitcoin indicator, or another Bitcoin indicator, signals price bottom may be forming. People seem to be, okay, maybe the bottom's in at $3,600, $3,200 range. We're probably not going to go below $3,000. All of a sudden, we see on the chart, Bitcoin drops, around the $3,800 mark. Bitcoin drops, about 2.5%, 3%. 5 hours later, Bitcoin price drop puts a dent in short-term bullish outlook. So it's, when you're looking at some of the technical analysis from some of these outlets, they would lead you to indicate that the market sentiment changes every 4.5 seconds. When the market goes down 3%, shocker, it's not bullish. When the market stays flat, oh my god, the bottom's formed. How's CNBC of them? Yeah, kind of. What's up, Voscoin? Do it for the buffalo chicken wraps. I had a great buffalo chicken wrap in Canada, actually. So that and poutine, a bunch of bison meat, so hey-oh. And looking at the market, I mean, the one thing since I've been back, I've been trying to catch up for the past 3 days. I've actually been back for a few days, but trying to catch up on a bunch of shit. But the one thing that was pretty crazy, at least, we got Ravencoin RVN has just been on an absolute tear in the past few days. In the past, I think it was 3 or 4 days. It's cooling off a little bit right now, but up 106%. I think it was up about 150% at one point in time. So anybody that has Ravencoin, that's been pretty damn impressive. And then Engine, interesting that Engine coin, so Engine up about 50+% in the past 7 days. Kind of pretty interesting that Engine, which was like originally created as this like gaming token, is now, outside of what they've done with gaming, has really kind of established themselves as a really solid wallet for a lot of as a solid mobile wallet, and they've done some other interesting things outside of gaming that have really lent themselves to kind of expanding the project a little bit further. And then I believe it was the Samsung news with Engine Coin, where they were able to have the Engine wallet will be added to Samsung, I believe, is a lot of the price catalyst there. What's up, Anthony? Am I still dollar cost averaging Bitcoin? Explain so others can understand it. Thanks, dude. Yeah, so I still am. I still do dollar cost average on it's actually on a weekly basis now. I dollar cost average primarily into Bitcoin, a little bit into Ethereum as well. If I see there's like a massive Ethereum dump, I will, I'll typically just simply dollar cost average, really, for the most part, into Bitcoin. And then I'll trade Ethereum a little bit more heavily, because I feel like the price fluctuations and obviously the correlation to Bitcoin is still very strong, but the beta there is a little bit higher. So for me personally, yes, I do still dollar cost average. What does that mean if you're not familiar? I mean, it's a pretty straightforward thing, but dollar cost averaging is essentially not trying to, at least for me, not trying to necessarily time the market, but putting in a specific percentage either of my salary or just spare money that I have on the side. And let's say that's a couple $100, every other week, or that might be $1,000 a month, whatever might work for you, $50 a month, who cares? But just putting in a specific number of money into cryptocurrency, whatever that might be for you. If that's Bitcoin, if that is Ethereum, if you're an XRP head, then if it's XRP, whatever it might be, but just putting, regardless of what's happening in the market's going up, the market's going down, the market's going sideways, you're putting in that number basically on a specific time frame, and that has really been what I've done for quite a long time. You can do that in a couple different ways. You can do that manually. You can do that through Coinbase, which we can also get into the whole delete Coinbase movement. There are a number of other platforms I believe you can do that through as well now. So Coinbase used to be one option. However, when you did it with Coinbase, you'd actually have to do it through Coinbase, not Coinbase Pro, which has higher fees. So also something to consider there. But a lot of different things there we can talk about. And that's one thing that I also happen to miss a little bit on with the whole delete Coinbase movement. So in addition to being out of the office, and just kind of not really off the grid, but not with my phone for a week, in addition to Coinbase adding XRP, that was actually not the biggest news of the week for Coinbase. The biggest news seemed to be their acquisition, and this happened before I left, but the biggest news was the acquisition of Neutrino. I believe, not sure if that's the correct pronunciation, but Coinbase and Neutrino. I think Lee from Coinbase, there we go. Here we go. I think Lee from, or no, it's actually Michael Casey. I think is the chairman of the CoinDesk board. But so Coinbase, if you missed this somehow, from just the whole outrage scandal, Coinbase acquired a company called Neutrino, which is a blockchain analysis firm. And if you're not familiar this has not been something new. Chain Analysis is one of the biggest firms out there that does this. Neutrino is another one. There's a few others out there as well. We can pull up. Let me see if I can pull up. I'll pull up Jesse Powell's tweet from. Here we go. This is a pretty cool tweet actually as well. I'll pull this one up. So this one is from Jesse Powell, who is the CEO of Kraken. Pretty interesting. They were doing some M&A due diligence on the analysis tools, essentially the blockchain analysis tools and the blockchain tracking tools that are out there. that are out there right now, and they shared their M&A due diligence essentially. They were potentially also looking at acquiring one of these firms: Neutrino, CipherTrace, Elliptic, Bitfury, Crystal, and Chain Analysis. Now, what do these tools do? What do these companies do? This is something that a lot of people are getting pretty outraged over. It's the topic of surveillance capitalism, where these companies, where these companies essentially are sharing information to a number of different people, really not spying, but tracking the shit out of what you do, if it involves any type of blockchain. For the most part, Bitcoin, Ethereum, very, very well tracked. Other ones out there as well. But if you think that, utilizing Coinbase or any of these larger exchanges, and if you send that money somewhere else, if that was ever came in through a KYC product, one of these Chain Analysis or one of these blockchain analytic tools is really tracking you. And a lot of people became upset due to some of the negatives around Neutrino in the past. And this is actually brought up in the Kraken M&A. They did this M&A due diligence. If you're not familiar with what M&A is, it's mergers and acquisitions. They were looking at potentially acquiring one of these tools, and they found out that, or in the process of looking at this, they found that they believe that Neutrino was actually the worst of the 5, but Neutrino actually tracks the Bitcoin blockchain, the Bitcoin Cash blockchain, the Litecoin, Tether, ETH, and Dash as well, and they allow for essentially a number of different ways to monitor features, alerts around what happens on these blockchains and basically track money movements through that. But in the possible risks, this was the thing that a lot of people got really upset about, is Neutrino's founder was also the founder of Hacking Team, and this came out a little bit, and then there was a lot more hubbub around it. But Neutrino's founder was also the founder of Hacking Team, which is an Italian cybersecurity firm that passed information to Kaspersky Lab, Group IB, and other Russian firms that were closely linked to the FSB. So there was a lot of outrage. There was the whole hashtag delete Coinbase movement on Twitter. The one thing I'll say about that, just at a high level, and this is something that, sometimes I've gotten caught up in the past about this, but there's a lot of people that necessarily participate in the crypto market that aren't on Twitter, and with that, they don't either see this stuff, or there's just a very tight group of people that get very mad and very outraged about this stuff, and we think that matters in some cases. I think more than it does. When you look at the delete Coinbase movement, I'd be surprised if more than more than, I don't know, 2,000 to 5,000 people actually deleted Coinbase. So that's something, when I look at that, I think at a high level, it definitely does, put pressure on Coinbase to, I think, behave in a more, just in a way that they know when they make a business decision that could potentially alienate their core users, they're going to get blowback for that. I also just think that there's just this sometimes what happens on Twitter is a small subset, or in these blogs and things like that, these websites, is a very small subset of what actually kind of makes a difference in the long run. So, Conscious Vegan, what's up? Track money movements. What the fuck? For what? So, this is something that's been happening for a while. And I would definitely recommend it. I think it's kind of funny because a lot of people think okay, Bitcoin is kind of anonymous or pseudonymous. Ethereum is pseudonymous. So, let's say I mean, granted, probably in 2018, you probably didn't make all that much money, if any. So the thought of paying capital gains tax is not a massive deal. 2017, though, however, different story. But I think a lot of people think, hey, I can buy some Bitcoin through Coinbase. I can send that somewhere else. I could send that to a wallet. I could send that somewhere else, and boom, I'm off the grid. Nobody knows it's me anymore. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think there are very, very sophisticated analytics tools behind, or running analysis on both, like I said, the Bitcoin Cash, ETH, Litecoin, Dash, all these blockchains have very sophisticated analytics tools that these exchanges are now using. The centralized exchanges, at least the ones based in the United States, are using for some level or another. And this was part of the interesting conversation too with, I'll see if I can pull this up right now, with Jesse, where he had mentioned, I'll see if I can find it in real time or not. But where Jesse had mentioned some of the reasons that somebody would have to utilize one of these tools or would have to utilize an element of those tools. I can't seem to find it right now, but I will definitely try to. Stefan, Larry at the Block. Shout out to the Block as well. I think that might be an exclusive or a Genesis. So I don't have the Block Genesis, so I can't actually read it. Sounds like you have the Genesis. But so they're apparently that's pretty awesome. I haven't gotten a chance to fully read this, but Stefan says that the conversation that the Block had with Backed, apparently Starbucks could start accepting crypto within 18 months using Backed's software, and that'll be interesting to see. I think one of the other things too, and this generated a little bit of hubbub on Twitter as well. And again, there's a lot of stuff outside of Twitter, but I know. Let's see here. I'll see if I can pull up Pomp's tweet about this. So a lot of people got a ton of engagement, ton of action on Twitter, and with that, so sure a lot of you know Pomp on Twitter, who works at Morgan Creek Digital as well. They have a pretty large fund, but Pomp is a Bitcoin bull. And said, grocery store Kroger is stopping acceptance of Visa in over 250 stores because of the network fees. The Morgan Creek Digital team will fly to meet them and get them hooked up with a Lightning network nationwide. Now, this was something that I think a lot of people were very excited about, and then a lot of people had negative feedback about. There's kind of two sides of the coin. Like, hey, this is fantastic that you're really going out on a limb to say, hey, we're really going to try and hook you up with Lightning Network. We think it could be fantastic, and we'd love to explore if Lightning Network could help Kroger with payments. On the other end of the spectrum, there is a lot of still, like, if you go on any Lightning site for the most part, or if you utilize any Lightning tool. What's up, Bro Man Dog on Twitch? Hope all is well. If you're on Twitch, shout out to everybody there. But if you use anything, like if you use Casa, a Casa node. It literally says in it, don't put too much money here. This is still pretty experimental technology. Don't get #reckless. If you use Blue Wallet, I believe it still has like a preface that says, hey, this is pretty experimental. Don't go crazy with this. Lightning Network is still very, in my opinion, experimental. It's awesome though, if you've used it. Last time we were on the stream, we had, I was just went through the tippin.me. I was able to tip, I think it was 9 or 10 of you guys with 1,000 Satoshis. Took 5 seconds. Pretty damn sweet stuff. Tippin.me is pretty awesome, as well as Blue Wallet. It's a great tool. So that's fantastic. But with that, there was a whole debate about, hey, is it too early? Is this just kind of getting a bunch of hope up for people or not? I do think, as having met Pomp and talk to him a bunch, I think he's a super genuine dude. So I think that it's, in my opinion, it's probably too early for any serious, for Lightning to be, Kroger is a massive publicly traded grocery company in the United States. That's probably too early for them to be, accepting Lightning Network payments around the U.S. or kind of nationwide at their stores. Would experiments be something that would be helpful? Absolutely. And is this the type of use case that in the long run might be really cool? Yeah, for sure. So I think there's you just always have to look at both sides of the coin. And again, there's a kind of an outrage culture online where people get all frustrated and hyped up and shit like that, and mad that he would even suggest something as outrageous as that. I don't think it's necessarily an outrageous suggestion, but hey, it is what it is. And definitely feel free to start asking as many questions as you want. Try to hit all those up If you have any questions that absolutely must be answered, definitely throw it in a super chat if you're on YouTube. To anybody who's watching on Twitch right now, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button on Twitch as well. What's up, Joshua? Yeah, thanks for turning me on to the Lightning Network. Been feeding a lot of chickens lately. Really is. I mean, the Lightning Network, like, while I said very experimental, I do think it's continually improving, and it's continually improving, and that I do think it has a future, and I think it is pretty interesting stuff. Now, there is negative feedback here and there, and also when you look at this tweet with Pomp, to go back to it, I believe he actually did speak to the folks at Kroger Digital and start that conversation. So, hey, you know what? That's also pretty incredible with the power of Twitter right now as like a business development tool in the space. If you do work in crypto, it's kind of unmatched. Like, I used to work in software sales at Oracle, and big companies like LinkedIn was the thing. Now it's like you just tweet something and hey, there's the action. You don't even need to use LinkedIn. Pop over here, Larry. So here is Stefan. Here we go. Thank you for that heads up, man. Starbucks has agreed to allow coffee lovers to pay in-store using Bax software, which will instantly transfer their crypto into fiat. Although Starbucks' final books will remain clear of the digital assets, it's a serious testament to their faith in Bax, making Starbucks' first foray into the crypto world. Sources also confirmed that the only customer in the U.S. will initially be able to use Bax Bitcoin to USD services to pay for coffee. However, should they expand the service internationally, the additional benefit to Starbucks would mean skipping FX fees, as Bax could switch overseas customers' crypto directly into dollars. So pretty interesting stuff. There. We'll be curious kind of how that might affect things, if it'll be utilized at all. Also have no idea how Bax software will function. Sounds like it'll probably be some element of obviously a custody. I would doubt it would be self-custodied, but I would think top of mind would be some element of like Bax would have their own wallet, similar to a Coinbase wallet or a Trust wallet, or even a Blue wallet or something like that. That would maybe be off-chain in some respects if it's going to allow for instant transfers, because obviously if you're doing it on-chain, that likely wouldn't happen. So seems like it would be a back custodied solution. You wouldn't have your own keys, and it also wouldn't occur at the very top of mind, probably wouldn't occur on-chain as well, but would still allow for the increased utilization of Bitcoin, which would be pretty cool, or of other cryptocurrencies if they're going outside of the utilization of Bitcoin. And yes, shocker, I did shave my beard. So I now look like I'm 12 years old. I didn't know what I looked like. It was the first time I've really shaved since November. So, hey. So popping back over. No real bounce. Ask away on the questions, folks, as well. Make sure I will try to answer as many of those as humanly possible. When Starbucks, doesn't sound like we're going to have any Starbucks. It sounds like it's going to be starred US dollars. Dale Thomas, great question. Thoughts on raising the DAI stability fee to keep the peg at $1? I have it. There's been, I think, a couple different Medium posts on that. There was a vote. Recently. I'm assuming the vote went through, and the vote passed the stability fee. What did the stability fee actually get raised to? If you don't mind, off the top of my head, I don't remember. I think when I opened a few CDPs, it was like 0.25. It was really, 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 really low. And then I think it was getting raised between 1% and 2%. I don't remember the final number it got raised at, but I think that that's part of the beauty of the MakerDAO kind of ecosystem is the votes and the governance around the stability fee. And I do think that in some respects, whatever has to happen to rate, to kind of maintain that peg at $1. If the DAI peg just blows up and you start seeing DAI at 90 cents or 80 cents, whatever it might be, it's going to be really bad for obviously the Maker ecosystem, as well as just I think the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole too, because not necessarily that I don't want to say that Ethereum right now is just Maker, but like one of the things that I've kind of thought for quite some time, at least now, is that Maker and DAI is by far like the most successful. In my opinion, Maker and DAI is by far the most heavily utilized project on Ethereum, or the most heavily utilized really tool on Ethereum, and one of the actual most utilized tokens. Maker, maybe not as much, but DAI itself, I think, is really, really interesting and really fascinating. And if DAI blows up in a significant way, I think that's a huge negative for Ethereum, because it's really one of the few ERC20 tokens that doesn't trade just purely on, that kind of actually has, I guess, some utilization as a stable coin, and as a really a permissionless stable coin, as opposed to the USDCs and the GUSDs and the TUSDs of the world. So Dale, 1.5% right now. I mean, I still think that's very reasonable if you're looking at it's basically generating a loan for 1.5% of any size. Obviously, it's a collateralized loan, but if you're looking at raising the stable coin there, or raising the stability fee to 1.5%, that is, if you look at the other solutions for that. So we'll talk about the centralized solutions for that. If you look at BlockFi or Unchained Capital or even Salt Lending, a lot of those are above 5% to, above 5% APR to have a collateralized loan. You're going to pay that level of interest. 1.5% is super low in comparison. So yes, it's still, under 1% was a damn steal to open up a CDP, but that stability fee at 1.5% I think is still extremely reasonable. What's up, Trudging Road? Ricky Thompson, going back to your comment about tracking wallets, the Feds love to use it when you use crypto, as they can track overtime wallets and connect the dots and make arrests unless you use XMR and related coins. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I think that was one of the funnier comments that, I believe it was Chris Berniski. I think it was at Consensus Invest in 2017 when Chris Berniski said, if you are going to buy a kilo of, not that he was advising somebody to buy a kilo of cocaine, but I think the example is, if you're going to buy a kilo of cocaine, you're better off using cash in the US dollar than you are utilizing Bitcoin. Because yes, Bitcoin is pseudonymous, but with the sophistication of the blockchain analysis and tracking tools, the likelihood that you somehow link that to your identity at some point in time or another would likely lead you to get caught. So yeah, the fact that you're better off performing illicit activities with cash than you are with Bitcoin, a lot of that is due to the fact that those tracking solutions are out there and available. Thank you. Yes, I have a baby face. So I didn't fully look into this at this point in time, Conscious Vegan. What are my thoughts on Engine, ENJ, it's Engine Coin, and the possible Samsung partnership? So let's see if I could find a good article. It's just rumored, or real or not. Who knows? Damn, it pumped over 200%. That's fucking crazy. I mean, at a high level, I don't know. The funny part about, I guess, the funny part about crypto and Ethereum World News, I don't know if that's necessarily the website I would pin all my hopes on. But the funny part about, I think, crypto is, fundamentally speaking, how does this actually? I've never used the Engine wallet itself, but if the Engine wallet is even integrated into Samsung, obviously that's fantastic and goes to speak to the level of, I guess, trust that the Samsung team would have in Engine's wallet to deploy that onto the Samsung Galaxy S10. So that'd be fantastic for Engine. How does that actually affect Engine Coin? How would that kind of value accrue to Engine Coin? I don't know if there's any really relationship between Engine Coin and running the Engine wallet. I'm sure that for the most part, you can most likely use Engine's wallet without having any interaction with Engine Coin. Certainly correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. But regardless, it doesn't necessarily matter because it pumped the price 200%. But I mean, I don't know. Uh, Hey Nico, what's up? Don't you reckon the Liquid sidechain is bullshit? It has done nothing for peer-to-peer transfers and only benefits exchanges. This goes against the main aim of what Bitcoin was meant to become. So I've tried to look for some of the Lightning stats, or excuse me, not Lightning stats, for the Liquid sidechain stats. Here we go. Let's see if we can pull it up. Actually, there he is. Or not. So we have. So right now, looks like there have been 9,000 transactions on the Liquid sidechain. I've never seen this site before, so I don't have a great analysis of it. But if you want to check it out, it's liquid.horse. And this is in regards to, the question is in regards to Blockstream's Liquid, which is, as said, is an inter-exchange settlement network between really cryptocurrency exchanges and institutions, enabling faster Bitcoin transactions at this point in time. So this is a little bit on the opposite end of the spectrum with Lightning Network, because Lightning Network, for the most part, right now is really meant for smaller cryptocurrency or for smaller Bitcoin transactions. You can transact 5 cents, 1 cent, less than 1 cent on the Lightning Network. Liquid itself is meant for larger exchanges, institutions, organizations to transact large amounts of Bitcoin. And again, it's essentially a sidechain similar to, in some cases, at a very oversimplifying it, similar to Lightning, where it is kind of built on top of Bitcoin. But I haven't been able to. I haven't done a really good analysis as far as the utilization. I mean, there's certainly a good amount of, definitely a good amount of, I guess, 9,000 transactions in the past however many months. But I haven't really done enough analysis. I'll definitely try to dive into it after this to see what's happening with this. I mean, looks like a decent amount of transactions going through, which is somewhat interesting. Would be curious as to the average size of those transactions and things of that nature. But I don't think it's worth calling it dead. I also don't think that for the most part, most of the people watching this will ever have any level of interaction with, with Liquid with Blockstream's Liquid. One thing I would say is that it certainly has the potential to maybe benefit some users and reduce certain transaction fees and things like that when companies, exchanges can actually batch transactions offline or batch transactions with the Liquid network and allow for other kind of components that might be helpful to the average user. But I don't think the average user will interface with Liquid very often. Lee David Hines, language, please. I'm sorry. Sorry for your 5-year-old. Apologies. Jersey occasionally. Mouth comes out. taking a look at some of these questions here. Trying to pull as many up as possible. Excited for Captain Marvel this week. Not a big Marvel guy. I probably won't be seeing that if that's the latest Marvel movie. Yeah, no. Don't really care too much about that. What's up, GBU Prof Wally? Thanks a lot for the super chat, man. Appreciate that. Top of the morning to you. Thanks for the regular updates. Learn, earn, don't get burned. We'll try not to. I will try not to. Thanks a lot for that, man. Really do appreciate it. Any questions, definitely let me know. And just to let you guys know too, I mean, like I said before, I was out. For anybody who missed the intro, I was out for a little bit over a week. Like I said, in Canada, kind of hanging out, skiing there. Beautiful place, but I will definitely be back to regular content now. So excited to be back. Excited to be here for sure. So don't expect another 10-day, 9-day gap in content. We'll be back tomorrow. Ricky, any comment on the low recycle volume? Tough part about, so I was having an interesting conversation too about just volume in general with a lot of, or with kind of asking a question to some of the like more, I guess, respected institutional or VC crypto fund guys, and asking them some questions about their thoughts on crypto volume as a whole and some of these exchanges, because there is a really big problem, and I've talked about it before. This fake volume and these the issue with fake volume across exchanges, and how institutional investors look at that, how these like sophisticated VCs and crypto fund managers look at that, because if you can look at volume trends and the thoughts about volume as a whole, but a lot of these exchanges, and they get calculated into CoinMarketCap and they get calculated into all of this, a lot of these exchanges are bullshit. A lot of them have been either just basically proven to be wash trading in the past, or really just like have super thin markets, whatever it might be. And the thought was from some of them was, we look at a very specific number of exchanges and just throw the rest of the data in the trash. And a lot of these exchanges, they just discount completely because they don't believe that the volume is real whatsoever. And I mean, I think it makes sense. Like when you look at, I have no idea what ZBG is, but the fact that, or BitMax, but the fact that this is now the highest volume exchange across, the fact that BitMax is the highest volume exchange out there, after it started in July 2018, I have no idea if how true that might be. I have no idea what the deal is with BitMax, but the fact that that they apparently have $1.3 billion in volume, and they're doing $1.1 billion in volume on Pax to USDT through transaction mining. That's bullshit. That's not actual real volume. That's not real. I mean, that's transaction mining. That's a way for them to that's a way for them to get to the top of CoinMarketCap. Essentially, we saw that with a number of the different Asian exchanges in the past, in 2018. Pretty damn incredible, though. Ninja Grassmaster, thoughts on Pomp having a conversation with Kroger Smith, the Lightning Network, as they drop Visa. So I gave my thoughts a little bit previously. I don't know if you maybe were not on for that. So I gave my thoughts, but at a high level, generated a lot of positive feedback, and some people are like, "Hey, it's way too early for this." I think it's fantastic that that conversation is starting. I think it's likely to way too early for Lightning to support a very widespread nationwide to say, for a nationwide grocery store to be accepting payments there. I think it would likely be too early, but I think that having that conversation started now rather than later. I mean, those things take time as a whole anyway. Like, you don't have a national grocery store doesn't start a publicly traded national grocery store essentially would not say, okay, we want to make this decision, and even if they make this decision now, it's going to take them 6 to 12 months to actually implement a change. So with that said, having the conversation started now, maybe this might be something that does get implemented in 12 to 18 months or 24 months. But the fact that the conversation is starting and the fact that it was started over Twitter is pretty damn cool. So that's awesome. But like I said, I think it's probably, I wouldn't expect to walk into a Kroger next week and to see Lightning Network transactions occurring, or you to be able to pay with Bitcoin through Lightning Network. Thanks a lot for the question, Ninja Grassmaster. Appreciate it, brother. Dale Thomas, XRP Army, was asking about my lack of content lately. I was actually held hostage. XRP Army held me hostage, and then shaved my face. It was pretty crazy. Lucky to get out alive. GBU Prof Wally, are there any DApps that excite you? You've already featured card on MyKrypton, so you participate passively on that one. Any others that you use or like? I haven't been experimenting with many DApps lately. If you have any that you suggest, I try out. Anybody, any specific ones? I'll even go nuts. I'll say if you want. To suggest EOS or Tron as well. But yeah, if there are any Ethereum, EOS, Tron, dApps, anything on Lightning that's interesting, like feeding chickens, definitely sound off in the comments. Would love to hear about that. Gillette razor is the only way to go, brother. Thanks a lot, Joe. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, definitely. If there are any dApps that you have utilized recently, they can be betting dApps. They can be, I don't know, crypto cartoons, whatever it might be. Definitely let me know. I will try to check them out as much as possible. So I see Goat Clash. Let me know if you don't mind. Let me know the dApp and then the platform that it's on as well. So if it's on Ethereum, if it's on EOS, if it's on Tron, if it's on Lightning, whatever it might be. State of the dApps. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that, man. I'll have to check it out further. Kyle, I haven't gotten a chance to go through the entirety of the Ledger issue that went down. So I believe that Ledger was essentially accused. There was some type of weird update that had to occur. I think it was a reduction in storage space with Ledger, where they were essentially accused of kind of pulling an Apple. Where Apple's releases a new iPhone, and then people accuse their old iPhone. People accuse Apple of reducing the I guess usability of their old iPhones, where you have an iPhone 5 and then the iPhone 6 comes out and your iPhone 5 starts to suck, and then you start wanting to have to go to the Apple Store and buy the 6. I believe that was what Ledger was accused of with the Ledger Nano S. They now have, I think it's the Ledger X that's out, and so they reduced some of the storage space with an update, or I haven't utilized my Ledger in the past probably 2 weeks, so I haven't used it. I saw some tweets about it, but again, I'm kind of fully catching up on it. Hopefully Ledger was able to kind of either backtrack or sort that out, or fix that for the sake of a lot of other folks out there. But I did not get a full chance to dive into that. Hopefully what they were accused of was not the intention. And but yeah, I don't personally have a Ledger X yet. I'll probably snag one at some point in time. But yeah. Yeah, DAP Radar, GBU Prof Wally. DAP Radar is usually a good site. And they have sorting via ETH dApps, EOS, Tron dApps, and such. I mean, a lot of the dApps right now are gambling, seem to be the big things. And it's fairly interesting that the highest users are, both EOS and Tron, typically over Ethereum. But when you look at it, it's also somewhat interesting that when you look at the top dApps, the volume, you have that sorted by users, but the actual volume of money, there's a lot of different ways you can game this, and especially with how things function in both EOS and Tron versus Ethereum, with Ethereum gas and things essentially costing more to kind of game these stats on Ethereum than they do on EOS and Tron. The makers of these games could essentially game these systems, game ranking websites like DAP Radar, so that, hey, they have 6.5 thousand users, but there's actually $0 in volume being transacted on the platform. So that's relatively interesting. Although EOS bet's a big one, and that's a lot of money moving. That's a lot of money being bet. Tron bet as well. And again, I'll have to look into that a little bit further. But $13 million apparently being bet in volume on Tron bet. I'm curious to see how that exactly, if anybody's done any type of analysis, because that is by far, I think, from a DApp, I guess we could say gaming perspective, the volume is definitely highest on something like Tron bet over a lot of other components. Dave, I'll check it out, man. You don't have to send any ETH, brother. I don't have an ETH address handy right now, I don't think. Folks, at this point in time, I have to brave the half a centimeter of snow that dropped down in New York City and get to work. So I gotta head out to work in a bit. But shout out to New York City public schools for canceling school today. It literally, if you're in New York City, you've probably seen it, but it literally snowed less than my beard currently right now. So it didn't snow essentially. And they canceled school last night. So if you have a child in New York, you're probably so pissed that your kid has a day off from school and you probably have to work. But I do have to get into work right now. Really do appreciate everybody's questions. Like I said, sorry for being out of the game for about a week or so. Really enjoying the ski game. So that was fun. But back in town and back on the video podcast grind. So any suggestions, anything you guys need, absolutely always feel free to hit me up in the comments at crypto_Bobby on Twitter. If you're on the YouTube channel, definitely feel free to hit me with the thumbs up on this video helps to get it out to as many people as possible. Shout out to everybody watching on Periscope. And if you're on Twitch as well, make sure you subscribe on Twitch. I would love to see you guys there as well. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. Crypto Bobby signing out. Hope you have a good one. Peace.